Hi everybody and welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Greta and I'm the dietitian at John Stoddard Cancer Center. So it is summertime and that means burger time. So I am bringing you a delicious vegan black bean burger, and I found this recipe on New York Times Cooking. I actually did not change any of the ingredients. I did change the steps a little bit just because I felt like it was easier for me. So let's go ahead and get started, because it's a super easy recipe to make and uses a lot of pantry ingredients, a lot of things you probably already have on hand, and a little bit of fresh ingredient too. So we're going to start with, when you make plant-based burgers, you do need some kind of a binder. So for this recipe, we're going to use just rolled oats, which is great because if you want to make this a gluten-free recipe, you can use gluten-free oats, and that is perfect instead of using like a breadcrumb or a panko. So I'm going to put these in my food processor because I want to process them down a little bit and make it more like as if it were a breadcrumb. If you don't have a food processor, you can put these through your blender. You can also just put them in whole if you don't have anything like that. All right, so it's going to get loud, sorry. All right, I'm doing these first because we might not need all of them. Just depends on kind of how much liquid is left in your beans, so that's why I kind of changed this a little bit. I'm going to put these in a bowl and set that aside to do the rest of the ingredients. Put that back on. So we're talking about burgers and, what's the advantage of eating a plant-based burger. So number one, we do know from the cancer prevention guidelines that red meat consumption increases risk for certain types of cancer, so we do want to find an alternative option as many times as we can. When we grill meats of any kind, it can produce carcinogens, and when we grill veggies, no carcinogens, so that's an even better option too. All right, so something else we're going to add that's maybe a little different that you've never used before is dried porcini mushrooms. So I get mine from Gateway Market. They come in a little container like this. If you get them at other grocery stores, they're usually in a little baggie. They're somewhere in the produce department. Sometimes they're a little hard to find. They look like this. They have a very pungent smell, and what these do is add that sort of level of umami that you get from eating red meat, that unctuousness. We're going to kind of mimic that a little bit in these burgers. So we're going to use about a quarter cup, and we do need to soak them. So I have some really nice hot water here, and I'm just throwing mine in this hot water. About a quarter of a cup. I'm not measuring them. And this little container got me through this recipe 2 times, so it's a small amount. So we're going to let those soak about 5-10 minutes until they get nice and softened. All right, while that's happening, we're going to work on some of the other ingredients. So we are going to use black beans. I just got canned low sodium black beans. I'm going to put them through the food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you certainly could just use like a potato masher and sort of mash them up. So mine are drained and rinsed. The nice thing about using canned beans, if you deal with some of the GI side effects of eating beans, then the canned ones tend to be a little bit less gas forming. They're also easier. It's just something I kind of have in my pantry all the time. All right, trying my best not to make a mess. Now at some point you will need, you might need a little bit of liquid. So you can save some of your black bean liquid when you drain them if you need a little bit of extra liquid for later. The other option is to save some of that mushroom liquid, and we can use that in case our burger gets a little bit too thick. All right, so I'm going to process these guys. Now we don't want them to be mush. We kind of want them to have a little texture left. I've got mine on chop. And I'm going to give it a little stir in there to push these guys in. I only have a small little food processor because I don't have room to store a big one. So it works for me. And I just kind of mash the rest in there until we get them down on the bottom. If you have a nice big food processor, it'll probably be a little easier. They're pretty close though. Just give them another minute in there. All right, I think that's about perfect. So I have a big bowl here. I'm going to go ahead and put those in the big bowl. So the ones in the bottom are going to be more processed. The ones on the top obviously are going to have a little more texture, which is fine. And because I use a small food processor, it's sort of why I modify the steps just a little bit. And now we're going to set that out. Okay. And if there's some left in there, that's totally fine. It's all going in the same place. So another benefit of using black beans, which again, part of the cancer prevention guidelines, we want to increase fiber in our diet, and beans are loaded with fiber and help support that really healthy microbiome in our gut, whereas red meat doesn't do that. So we're going to add the recipe called for cilantro. If everybody knows me, I do not like cilantro. So this is parsley from my garden, and I just picked a big bunch. So we want about a 1/4 cup of parsley. Then it calls for about a teaspoon of chopped garlic. I just went ahead and did 1 clove, and I felt like that was perfect. So I got a nice big healthy clove here. I'm just gonna give 2 chops in half too, like that. All right, so for more of that kind of umami, we're gonna add a tablespoon of low sodium soy sauce. Now, if you wanna do this gluten-free, you could use tamari, or you could use aminos to replace the soy sauce. All right, teaspoon of cumin. Again, we're just bumping up all that flavor in here. Sort of mimic that meat. And then 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. My jar was getting a little low. 1, I think I just have it. Adding the rest. It is a beautiful day, so the windows are open. The dogs are outside, which may mean that you might hear some barking, and I apologize. All right, we're gonna add a little bit of salt because I did go with low sodium beans. And we're gonna add some pepper. Bumping up that flavor. All right. My mushrooms feel pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those. I'm saving this liquid though in case I need to add liquid later if the mixture gets too thick. So don't discard your liquid or else keep your bean liquid. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and give that a sorry for the noise. I figure I already have this in use, so that's why I didn't chop my parsley and I just did it this way. Spoon, so I can push everything in there. Make sure that's all well incorporated. It smells so good, like already. I was really impressed with these. I've made other plant-based burgers before, and sometimes they're tricky. Sometimes texture-wise, they're too soft or hard to hold together. So this one I really felt like was the easiest one I've ever tried before. All right, we're gonna get all that flavor mixed into our beans. Okay, that looks good. We're gonna give that just a stir. Sorry, I can't see here. And you'll notice it is pretty soft right now. We haven't added our binder in yet, so. All right, so now I'm gonna start adding some of that oats. Start with about half. You do want this to be pretty firm so that these really hold together. The first time I made them, I did use the whole amount. And I felt like they were okay. They really held together well. But then I was like, ooh, maybe I wouldn't need all that next time. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest. I think it could handle it. Perfect. All right, once we have this all stirred together, we're gonna go ahead and let this stand for about 5 minutes so that those oats can sort of start soaking up some of the liquid before we try to form it into a burger. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. I'll see you then. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I just kind of leveled it all out here so I can make my burgers about even size. I just have a sheet tray here. I did put a little spray on it just so that they don't stick. So we're gonna form our burgers. If you wanna make 4 regular size burgers, or you can make 8 little sliders if you wanted to. So I'm gonna make 4 burgers. So I just kind of like divide this into quadrants so they're about the same size. And this is the hands messy part. Take out your quarter of it, and you can see it really does hold together really nice, which is not typical for a lot of plant-based burger recipes. Sometimes they're so frustrating because they just don't want to hold together. I was very impressed with how well these hold together. So we're just going to form them into our patties, just like this. Just like you would a regular burger. And the fun part is it kind of looks like a meat burger. It doesn't, you could fool people with this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and continue making our patties. Once you get them all done, we're gonna let them rest for 5 more minutes. You may wanna set them in the refrigerator so they really set up so that when we go to cook them, they don't fall apart. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to cook them. We'll see you then. Hi everybody, so I'm ready to cook my burgers. So I'm gonna cook them in the house tonight. It's nice because you can make this recipe when it's cold outside or if it's raining, if you can't get the grill going. So I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil on medium-low heat. My pan is nice and hot now. We're gonna go ahead and just set our burgers in there. Now if you have a smaller pan, you could just do the 1 tablespoon of olive oil and do them in batches, just 2 at a time. These are only going to take about 5 minutes per side. We just want to get it nice and crispy, and then we'll give them a flip. So we'll come back and see what they look like when we're ready to flip them over. Okay, I'm back because after 5 minutes on each side, my burgers are nice and browned and have a nice crisp layer on each side, which is perfect. They smell so good. So now you can just go ahead and build it like you would build your favorite burger. I like sliced tomato, red onion, avocado, and some beautiful butter lettuce. And I'm hungry and I can't wait for my dinner tonight. So thank you for watching and enjoy.